The morning sun painted the Abaddon marketplace in shades of amber and gold. Amara moved between the stalls with practiced grace, her wrapper tied neatly at her waist, a basket of folded Ankara prints balanced on her head. At 17, she had worked for Chief Adebayo's cloth business for 3 years, ever since her father died and left her mother with 5 mouths to feed. Amara, come here, girl. Chief Adebayo's voice boomed from inside his large trading shop. The other market women glanced up briefly, then returned to their haggling and gossip. Chief Adebayo was the wealthiest cloth merchant in 3 villages. His voice was the sound of money, and money commanded respect. Amara hurried inside, lowering her basket. The shop smelled of fresh fabric and the sweet scent of the palm wine Chief Adebayo always kept nearby. He sat on his carved wooden chair, his agbada flowing around him like the very fabrics he sold. His wife, Mama Tund, had traveled to Lagos for a naming ceremony and wouldn't return for another week. Yes, Chief, Amara said, keeping her eyes lowered respectfully. I need you to organize the new shipment in the back storage room, he said, standing slowly. The Dutch wax prints. They must be counted and arranged before my wife returns. The back storage room was dark and isolated, separated from the main shop by thick curtains and stacked boxes. Amara had always felt uncomfortable going back there alone, but she needed this job. Her younger siblings needed school fees. Her mother's herbs and remedies brought in little money. That day, Chief Adebayo followed her into the storage room. What happened in the darkness between those fabric bales was a violence that had no words. When Amara stumbled out 30 minutes later, her wrapper was torn, her eyes were hollow, and Chief Adebayo was already back in his chair, sipping palm wine as if nothing had happened. Finish the counting, he said without looking at her. And, Amara, if you value your family's welfare, you'll remember that some stories have no witnesses. Some words have no proof. Who would believe a poor maiden over a chief? Amara counted fabrics with trembling hands. She said nothing. That night, she told her mother she had fallen while carrying a heavy load. The bruises, she said, were from the fall. But bodies remember what mouths cannot speak. 2 months later, Amara's monthly bleeding stopped. Another month passed, and her mother noticed the swelling beneath her daughter's loose clothing. Amara, her mother whispered one evening as they prepared dinner. Tell me the truth. Are you with child? The wooden spoon fell from Amara's hand. She collapsed to her knees, and the dam of silence finally broke. Through tears and gasps, she told her mother everything. Chief Adebayo, the storage room, the threats, the shame she'd carried alone for 3 months. Her mother, Aya Agbo, held her daughter and wept. Aya Agbo was known throughout the villages as a powerful herbalist, a woman who could cure fevers and ease childbirth, but she was poor. She had no husband, no sons, no voice in the Council of Elders. Still, she was a mother, and mothers fight for their children, even when the battle seems lost. The next morning, Aya Agbo dragged her daughter to the village square where the elders gathered under the ancient Irako tree. Chief Adebayo was there, laughing with the other men, his belly full of pounded yam and his pockets heavy with coins. Elders. Aya Agbo's voice cut through the morning air. I bring a matter of justice before you. The men turned, irritated by the interruption. Women did not simply demand attention at the council gathering. What is this noise? Elder Ogunlade asked, frowning. My daughter has been violated by Chief Adebayo, Aya Agbo said, her voice steady despite her trembling hands. She carries his child. I demand justice. The square fell silent. Then Chief Adebayo laughed. It was a big, rolling laugh that shook his whole body. This poor woman has lost her senses, he said, shaking his head. Her daughter works in my shop, yes. But violated? By me? He spread his hands wide, the picture of wounded innocence. Elders, I am a respected businessman. I have a wife. I have children. Why would I need to force myself on a servant girl? Because you could, Aya Agbo said quietly. Because you thought no one would believe her. Where is your proof? Chief Adebayo demanded. Where are your witnesses? This girl probably has a boyfriend she's been sneaking around with. Now she's pregnant and needs someone to blame. Someone with money. The elders murmured among themselves. Elder Ogunlade looked at Amara with something like pity, but also doubt. "Girl," he said, "did anyone see this happen? Is there anyone who can confirm your story?" Amara's voice was barely a whisper. "No, Elder. It happened in the back storage room. There was no one else there." "You see," Chief Adebayo said, his voice full of righteous anger. "Lies and desperation. I will not have my good name dragged through the mud by a girl looking for easy money." Elder Ogunlade sighed. "Without proof, without witnesses, there is nothing we can do. Chief Adebayo is a respected member of this community. We cannot make accusations based on words alone." "But my daughter," Aya Agbo began. "Your daughter should have been more careful," Elder Ogunlade said, his voice cold. "A girl who gets pregnant without a husband has brought shame on herself and her family. That is the truth we can see." By evening, the news had spread through the marketplace like wildfire. Mama Tund, Chief Adebayo's wife, returned from Lagos early, having heard whispers. She was furious, not at her husband, but at Amara. "That little snake," she hissed to the other market women, "trying to trap my husband, trying to destroy my family." She probably threw herself at him, and when he rejected her, she made up this wicked story. The market women, who had once smiled at Amara, now turned their backs. They had families to feed, shops to run. No one could afford to offend Chief Adebayo. He controlled too much of the market trade. Within a week, Mama Tund led a group of women to Aya Agbo's small compound. "Your daughter is a curse on this village," Mama Tund shouted. "She must leave. Take your shame somewhere else. We don't want her corrupting our daughters with her loose ways." Aya Agbo stood in her doorway, her daughter behind her. "You know the truth," she said quietly to the gathered women. "You all know men like Chief Adebayo. You know what power can do. But fear is stronger than truth." One by one, the women turned away. The elders delivered their judgment the next morning. Amara was to be banished from the village. She had 3 days to leave. On the third day, mother and daughter packed what little they owned into 2 cloth bundles. As they walked past Chief Adebayo's shop, he stood in the doorway, arms crossed, a small smile on his lips. "Remember," he called out, "some stories have no witnesses." Amara stopped walking. She turned to face him, and for the first time since that terrible day, she looked him directly in the eyes. "The ancestors are witnesses," she said, "and children remember what fathers try to forget." Then she walked away, following her mother into the forest, toward an uncertain future and a destiny neither of them could imagine. The forest path wound deeper into territories where few villagers dared to travel. Aya Agbo knew these paths well. As a herbalist, she had often ventured into the wild places to gather roots and bark for her remedies. But traveling while supporting a pregnant daughter was different. Every step felt heavier than the last. They walked for 3 days, sleeping beneath the shelter of thick-leaved trees, eating the dried yams and plantains Aya Agbo had packed. Amara's belly was beginning to show clearly now, a roundness that made walking difficult. On the 4th day, they reached a small clearing where a stream bubbled over smooth stones. Ancient trees surrounded the area like protective guardians. Aya Agbo stopped and set down her bundle. "Here," she said. "This is far enough. We'll build our new life here." Amara looked around at the wilderness. "Mother, there's nothing here. How will we survive?" Aya Agbo's eyes were hard with determination. "The same way we've always survived. With our hands, our knowledge, and our refusal to die for someone else's sins." They built a small shelter from bamboo and palm fronds. Aya Agbo taught Amara which plants could heal and which could kill. She showed her daughter how to read the forest, how to listen to bird calls that warned of strangers, how to find water when streams ran dry. "Knowledge is power," Aya Agbo said as they worked. "They took your innocence. They took your reputation. But they cannot take what you know, what you learn, what you become." The months passed slowly. Amara's belly grew larger. Some days she cried, mourning the life she'd lost. Other days, anger burned so hot inside her that she could barely speak. "I hate him," she whispered one night as her mother massaged her swollen feet. "I hate them all. The elders who didn't believe me. The women who turned away. Chief Adebayo, most of all." "Hate is a poison," Aya Agbo said. "But properly directed, it can also be medicine." When Amara's time came, it was Aya Agbo alone who delivered the child. The labor was long and difficult. Amara screamed into the night, and the forest seemed to scream with her. At dawn, when the first light broke through the trees, a son was born. But he did not cry. Aya Agbo worked frantically, clearing the baby's airways, rubbing his tiny chest. Nothing worked. The forest had witnessed the birth, but the child would never witness the world. Amara held her dead son and felt something break inside her that would never be whole again. For 3 days, she would not speak, would not eat, would not move from the spot where she cradled the tiny body. On the 4th day, Aya Agbo took her daughter's face in her hands. "Listen to me," she said fiercely. "They tried to destroy you. They succeeded in destroying your child. But you are still here. You are still breathing. And as long as you breathe, there is purpose." "What purpose?" Amara whispered. "I have nothing. You have your life. You have knowledge. And one day, you will have justice." Aya Agbo's eyes burned with an intensity Amara had never seen before. "We will bury your son beneath the Irako tree at the edge of our clearing. We will plant herbs on his grave. And we will transform your pain into power." They buried the child as the sun set, wrapping him in the softest cloth Amara had salvaged from her old life. Aya Agbo spoke words in the old language, words that called on ancestors and spirits, words that promised the child's spirit would not be forgotten. That night, Amara made a vow. She would learn everything her mother knew. She would become the greatest herbalist in all the territories. And one day, when the time was right, she would return to the village that had cast her out. The years that followed were years of transformation. Mother and daughter became legend in the remote villages and trading paths. People began to speak of 2 mysterious healers who lived in the forest, women who could cure ailments that stumped other medicine workers. Travelers who found their clearing brought news from the outside world. Through these whispers, Amara learned that Chief Adebayo had grown even wealthier. He had expanded his trading empire across 3 regions. His children were grown now, respected in the community. His oldest son, Tund, had become a merchant like his father. One day, when Amara was 25 years old, a young man stumbled into their clearing. He was perhaps 19 or 20, well-dressed but sweating with fever, his eyes glazed with sickness. "Please," he gasped. "I was told the forest healers could help. My family, they're all sick. The herbalists in town can't cure it. My father is dying." Aya Agbo examined him carefully. "This is swamp fever," she said. "Difficult to cure, but not impossible." "Where is your family?" "Ibadan," the young man said. "My father is Chief Adebayo. I'm his son, Tund. Please, I'll pay anything." Amara's hands froze in the middle of grinding herbs. She looked at her mother, and in that moment, 1,000 unspoken words passed between them. Aya Agbo's voice was carefully neutral. "Chief Adebayo of Ibadan? The cloth merchant." "Yes," Tund said desperately. "Do you know him?" "We know of him," Aya Agbo said. "His reputation reaches even into these forests." Amara's heart hammered in her chest. After 8 years, the past had walked into their clearing wearing a young man's face. "We can cure this fever," Aya Agbo said slowly. "But the medicine is rare and difficult to prepare. It will take time." "I'll wait," Tund said. "I'll do anything." As Aya Agbo tended to the young man's immediate fever, Amara stepped outside the shelter. Her hands were shaking. The face of Chief Adebayo's son kept swimming in her vision, and beneath it, she kept seeing the tiny, still face of her own son, buried beneath the Irako tree. Her mother joined her under the stars. "The ancestors have delivered him to us," Aya Agbo whispered. "This is your moment, my daughter. But you must be careful. Revenge rushed is revenge wasted. What do I do? Amara asked. We cure him, Aya Agbo said. We send him home with medicine for his family. But the price will not be measured in cowries or gold. Amara understood. After 8 years of waiting, of learning, of becoming someone new, the path to justice had finally opened before her. She looked toward the grave of her son, marked now by flowering herbs that glowed softly in the moonlight. I won't fail you, she whispered to the child she'd never known. I promise. 3 days later, Tun's fever had broken. He sat outside the healer's shelter, eating the herbal porridge Aya Agbo had prepared, watching the two women with growing respect and curiosity. You saved my life, he said to Amara. I don't even know your name. Names of power, Amara replied, not looking at him. Sometimes it's better to leave them unspoken. She had grown into a woman whose face showed both hardness and beauty. The soft girl who once arranged fabrics in a marketplace was gone, replaced by someone who knew the language of plants and poisons, someone who had survived what should have destroyed her. Aya Agbo handed Tund a wrapped bundle of dried herbs and small clay pots of prepared medicines. This will cure your family's fever, she said. But you must follow the instructions exactly. Boil the brown leaves in the clay pot each morning for 7 days. Give the root mixture to your father specifically 3 times daily with warm water. Tund accepted the bundle reverently. How much do I owe you? My father has money. Name your price. We don't want money, Aya Agbo said. Tund looked confused. Then what? Everyone wants something. Amara spoke, her voice steady. We want a promise. When your father is healed, you will return here with him. Both of you. There is something that must be settled. A debt that has nothing to do with cowries. A debt? My father doesn't know you. He knows more than he remembers, Amara said. Tell him the forest healers request his presence. Tell him it concerns a matter from 8 years ago. A girl who once worked in his shop. Tell him we have questions only he can answer. Tun's brow furrowed. I don't understand. You don't need to understand, Aya Agbo said. You only need to deliver the message. Bring your father here in 2 weeks after the medicine has done its work. If you don't come, we will know. And the cure we've given you? She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. It has a second ingredient, one that requires a final antidote. Without it, the fever will return in 3 months, stronger than before. But this time, no herbalist in any village will be able to cure it. Tun's eyes widened. You would poison us after saving us? We prefer to think of it as insurance, Amara said. Your father is a businessman. He should understand the concept of guaranteed payment. It was a lie. There was no poison, no lingering curse in the medicine. But Tun didn't know that. All he knew was that his family's lives depended on returning to this clearing. 2 weeks, he said quietly. I'll bring him. After Tun left, Amara felt the weight of what was coming settle over her shoulders like a heavy cloth. For 8 years, she had survived. Now she would have to confront. Are you ready? Her mother asked. I don't know, Amara admitted. What if he still doesn't acknowledge it? What if he denies everything again? Then we have learned nothing changes without pressure, Aya Agbo said. But I believe he will come. Men like Chief Adebayo fear death more than they fear truth. And right now, he believes we hold his life in our hands. The 2 weeks crawled by. Amara prepared herself mentally, rehearsing the words she would say, trying to imagine Chief Adebayo's face when he recognized her. Would he show guilt? Fear? Or would that same arrogant smile cross his lips? On the morning of the 14th day, voices echoed through the forest path. Amara's heart began to race. She stood beside her mother, both women wearing their best wrappers, their heads tied with elaborate gellies that marked them as healers of status. Tund emerged first, followed by his father. Chief Adebayo had aged. His face was thinner, his agbada less vibrant than she remembered. The fever had weakened him, but his eyes were the same, sharp, calculating, always searching for advantage. He stopped when he saw the 2 women standing before the shelter. His eyes passed over Aya Agbo with vague recognition, then landed on Amara. For a moment, nothing. Then his eyes widened slightly. You, he breathed. Me, Amara said. Tund looked between them, confused. Father? You know them? We've met before, Amara said. 8 years ago. In a storage room behind your father's shop. On a day when there were no witnesses. Or so your father thought. Chief Adebayo's face went pale. Tund, wait outside. Father, what's going on? Outside. The command was sharp, desperate. Tund backed away, bewildered, leaving the clearing. Chief Adebayo's voice dropped to an urgent whisper. What do you want? Money? I can pay you to disappear again. Again? Amara's voice was ice. I never disappeared. I was forced out, banished. While you lived in comfort, I lived in the forest. While your children grew up with honor, mine died before he could take his first breath. The words hit Chief Adebayo like physical blows. You had a child? Your child, Aya Agbo said. The one you put in her belly when you violated her. The one your wife and the village elders said didn't matter because there were no witnesses. Chief Adebayo stumbled backward. I didn't know. You didn't care to know, Amara corrected. But now you will know. Now you will carry what I've carried for 8 years. What do you want from me? His voice cracked. Confession? I'll confess to you here. I did it. I was wrong. Is that enough? Confessing to me in the forest is easy, Amara said. There are no witnesses here either, Chief. Just like there were no witnesses then. No, your confession needs an audience. The same audience that judged me. Chief Adebayo's eyes narrowed. The village? You want me to confess in the village? I'll be ruined. My business, my family's name. Your business will survive. Aya Agbo interrupted. Your family's name will survive. But my daughter's name? The one you destroyed? That deserves to be restored. Your son is outside this clearing right now, waiting for the final antidote we promised him. Chief Adebayo's breathing quickened. There is no poison, is there? This is a trick. Is it? Amara asked. Are you willing to bet your family's lives on that? Because in 2.5 months, you'll find out if we were lying. And by then, it will be too late. The silence stretched between them like a rope pulled taut. Finally, Chief Adebayo spoke. What exactly do you want me to do? Next market day, Amara said. You will gather the village in the square, the same square where your lies ruined me. You will tell them what you did, every detail. You will clear my name before the same elders who cast me out, and you will do it with your wife and children present. They'll never forgive me. That's your burden to carry, Amara said. The same way I've carried mine for 8 years. The same way my mother has carried it. The same way my dead son carries it in the spirit world. Chief Adebayo's shoulders sagged. He looked like a man who had finally run out of moves, out of words, out of ways to escape the truth. And if I do this, he asked quietly, you'll give me the antidote? Yes. Amara lied smoothly. Confess, and your family stays healthy. Stay silent, and in 3 months, you'll all be back at death's door. This time, no herbalist will be able to help you. Chief Adebayo closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they were wet. I was a coward, he whispered. I am a coward. Then be a brave man for once in your life, Aya Agbo said. Face what you did. Give my daughter back what you stole, her dignity. Chief Adebayo nodded slowly, a broken man accepting defeat. Next market day, he said. I'll do it. He walked away, calling for his son, his footsteps heavy with the weight of coming judgment. Amara watched him disappear into the forest path. She felt no joy, no triumph, only a strange, hollow relief. The wait was almost over. Justice, delayed for 8 years, was finally arriving. Her mother took her hand. Soon, Aya Agbo whispered. Soon the truth will be heard. Market day arrived with a sky so clear it seemed the heavens themselves wanted to witness what would unfold. Amara and her mother stood at the edge of the marketplace, their faces partially covered with beautiful gullies, their wrappers marking them as women of means and knowledge. They had not walked these paths in 8 years, but everything looked painfully familiar. The cloth stalls, the yam sellers, the women who had once turned their backs. Most of them were still there, older now, but unchanged in their positions and their prejudices. Word had spread quickly that Chief Adebayo had called for a special gathering. People whispered about sickness and healers and strange demands. The marketplace buzzed with speculation. Under the ancient Irako tree where the elders sat, Chief Adebayo stood with his family. Mama Tund looked annoyed at being summoned for what she thought was some minor business matter. Tund and his siblings looked confused. The elders, including the still-living Elder Ogunlade, looked impatient. Chief Adebayo, Elder Ogunlade said, "You've called us all here. Speak." Chief Adebayo's hands trembled. He opened his mouth, closed it, then tried again. His eyes scanned the crowd until they found Amara standing in the shadows. She nodded once. "I have a confession to make," Chief Adebayo began, his voice barely audible. "Speak up," someone shouted. Chief Adebayo cleared his throat and spoke louder. 8 years ago, a girl named Amara worked in my shop. She was 17 years old. Poor, obedient, trustworthy. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some of the older women remembered the name. One day, when my wife was in Lagos, I sent Amara to the back storage room to count fabrics. I followed her there. And He paused, sweat beading on his forehead. I forced myself on her. I violated her. She said no. She fought. But I was stronger and I didn't care. The marketplace went completely silent. Mama Tund's face drained of all color. Tund took a step back from his father, as if burned. When she became pregnant, Chief Adebayo continued, his voice breaking. She came to the elders seeking justice. And I lied. I called her a liar and a seducer. I used my reputation to destroy hers. The village banished her, and I let it happen. I watched her walk away, carrying my child, and I felt nothing but relief that I'd protected my position. Liar! Mama Tund shrieked. Why are you saying these things? Who put you up to this? Chief Adebayo turned to his wife. I'm saying it because it's true. Because I'm a coward. Because that girl's child, our grandchild, died because of what I did. Because she and her mother were forced to live in the forest like outcasts while I prospered from my lies. Elder Ogunlade stood up slowly, his face ashen. This girl Amara, she told us this 8 years ago. We didn't believe her. You believed the man with power. Aya Agbo's voice rang out as she and Amara stepped forward into the center of the marketplace. You believed the man with money. You didn't believe the poor maiden because poor maidens don't matter to you. The crowd parted as the two women walked toward the Irako tree. Some of the older market women gasped when they recognized Aya Agbo. One woman, her hand flying to her mouth, whispered, The herbalist? They're alive. Amara removed her gully, letting her face be fully seen. She looked directly at Mama Tund, at the women who had chased her from the village, at Elder Ogunlade, who had called her a liar. I am Amara, she said. The girl you cast out. The girl whose reputation you destroyed to protect a guilty man. I want you all to hear what Chief Adebayo has confessed. I want you to know that for 8 years, I've lived with the shame of a crime I didn't commit, while he lived in comfort with the guilt of a crime he did commit. Tund stepped forward, his face twisted with anguish. Father, is this true? All of it. Chief Adebayo couldn't meet his son's eyes. Yes. And you let us grow up thinking we were honorable? You let me work in that same shop, with that same storage room, never knowing what you'd done there? Tund's voice rose with each word. You're a monster. I know, Chief Adebayo whispered. Mama Tund collapsed onto a stool, sobbing. All these years you let me think she was the villain. I led those women to chase her out. I called her terrible names. And she was the victim? She was the victim, and I. You were the villain's accomplice, Aya Agbo said coldly. Every woman who turned her back that day participated in his crime. Every elder who chose power over truth became complicit. Elder Ogunlade's voice was hoarse with regret. We were wrong. Gravely wrong. Amara, Aya Agbo, on behalf of this council, I ask your forgiveness. Asking costs nothing. Amara said. What will you do to earn it? The elder looked at the assembled crowd, then back at Amara. What do you want? I want my name restored, Amara said. I want it acknowledged publicly that I was wronged. I want every person here to know that when a poor girl speaks truth to power, she deserves to be heard, not dismissed. I want the next young woman who faces what I faced to know the village will stand with her, not with her abuser. It will be done, Elder Ogunlade said. Starting today, we will revise our laws. No person will be judged without thorough investigation, regardless of the status of the accused. Your name, Amara, will be formally cleared in our records. And Chief Adebayo. The elder turned to the broken merchant. You will step down from all positions of leadership. You will publicly fund a shelter for women in crisis. You will spend the rest of your days making amends for what you destroyed. Chief Adebayo nodded, unable to speak. Amara felt her mother's hand squeeze hers. She looked out at the crowd, at the faces that had once rejected her, now looking back with shame and new understanding. There's one more thing, Amara said. My son, the child who died because I had to give birth in a forest without proper care. He deserves to be acknowledged. He deserves a proper memorial in this village. It will be done, Elder Ogunlade said. We will erect a stone beneath this Irako tree, in memory of the child lost to our injustice. Tund approached Amara slowly, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry, he said. I'm so sorry for what my father did. For who he is. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Amara looked at this young man who was technically her son's half-brother. She saw genuine remorse in his eyes. You're not responsible for your father's sins, she said gently. But you are responsible for what you do now that you know the truth. Be better than him. That's all any child can do. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, people began to approach Amara and Aya Agbo. Some offered apologies. Some brought small gifts. Some simply touched Amara's hand in solidarity, their silence speaking louder than words. The market women who had once chased her away stood in a group, uncertain. Finally, one elderly woman stepped forward. We were wrong, she said simply. Fear made us cruel. We're sorry. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was something. As the gathering dispersed, Amara and her mother stood beneath the Irako tree, the same tree where 8 years ago, justice had been denied. Is it over? Amara asked her mother quietly. No, Aya Agbo said. Your pain doesn't disappear because truth was spoken. But now it has a name. Now it has witnesses. Now the next girl who faces what you faced might stand a chance. Amara nodded. She thought of her son, buried beneath herbs and starlight in a forest clearing. She thought of the girl she'd been, the woman she'd become, the years of survival and silence. Justice had come. Not perfect justice. Not complete healing. But acknowledgement. Truth spoken aloud. Witnesses to what had been done in darkness. It was a beginning. That night, as they prepared to return to their forest home, Tund approached one final time. The antidote, he said hesitantly. For the fever. You said there was a final treatment needed. Amara looked at him steadily. There was never any poison, Tund. Your family is cured. The fever won't return. His eyes widened. Then all of this, the threat of death, it was the only way to make him face what he'd done. Amara finished. Your father destroyed my life with lies. I restored my name with one strategic untruth. I won't apologize for that. Tund nodded slowly. I understand. And I'm grateful. Not for the deception, but for the truth it forced into the light. He paused. Will you come back? To the village. Perhaps, Amara said. Someday. When I'm ready. She and her mother walked back into the forest as the stars emerged overhead. Behind them, the village buzzed with the story that would be told and retold for generations. The story of the maiden they blamed. The story of the chief who confessed. The story of how justice, long delayed, finally found its voice in a marketplace under the watchful eyes of ancestors and an ancient tree. And in the forest clearing where they'd built their life from nothing, Beneath the Irako tree that sheltered a tiny grave, the herbs that Amara had planted 8 years ago bloomed bright in the moonlight, as if the spirits themselves were marking this moment. Truth had been spoken, wrongs had been named, and though the pain would never fully disappear, it had finally found its purpose. Amara had survived not just for herself, but for every silenced voice that came before her and everyone that would come after. 3 months later, news reached the forest clearing that Chief Adebayo had sold his largest shop and used the money to build a shelter for vulnerable women on the outskirts of Ibadan. The shelter was named Amara's Hope. Mama Tund had personally apologized to every woman in the marketplace, one by one, acknowledging her role in the injustice. Some forgave her, others didn't. But she kept trying, kept speaking the truth, kept owning what she had done. Tund had taken over his father's remaining business, but he ran it differently. He hired women from difficult backgrounds, paid them fairly, and created a reputation for integrity that his father never had. And under the Irako tree in the village square, a small stone memorial was erected with simple words carved into its surface. In memory of the innocent lost to injustice. May we do better. May we believe the powerless. May we choose truth over comfort. 1 year after the Market Day confession, Amara and Aya Agbo returned to the village not as outcasts, but as respected healers. They opened a small clinic near the marketplace, where they treated the sick and taught young women the art of herbal medicine. On the first day the clinic opened, a young girl came in, barely 16, her eyes hollow with a familiar pain. She whispered her story to Amara, a story of violation, of fear, of not knowing who would believe her. Amara held the girl's hands and said firmly, "I believe you, and you are not alone." The girl wept with relief. And Amara knew, in that moment, that her suffering had not been meaningless. It had carved a path for others to walk. It had broken a silence that needed breaking. That evening, as the sun set over the marketplace, Amara stood at her son's memorial stone and placed fresh flowers at its base. "Your life was short, my child," she whispered, "but your death changed everything. The village that rejected us now protects others because of you. Rest well, little one. Your mother kept her promise." The wind rustled through the Irako tree's leaves, and for just a moment, Amara felt a warmth on her shoulder, gentle as a mother's touch, soft as a child's breath. The ancestors had witnessed. Justice had been served. And the story of the maiden they blamed became the story of the woman who refused to stay silent, who turned pain into purpose, and who proved that truth, no matter how long buried, will always find its way to light.